quiet.
Welcome to the PowerTrip podcast. We're your hosts,
Charmaine
and Saquon.
Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Hey guys.
What's up, people? We're coming to you to
What's up,
talk to
what's
you
up?
about
Wedding. Our wedding.
the details.
The deets. So, as you guys know, a lot has changed. Well, maybe you don't know, actually, because we haven't talked to you about it. We said a few things, but a lot has definitely changed. Our initial wedding date was April 11th of this year. And, of course, due to COVID, we had to postpone our wedding. So, now our new wedding date is...
August 1st.
Dang!
Sorry. But yeah, it is August
1st.
And I think we did go over it, but we had almost, 175 guests that were supposed to be coming.
Initially, we're going to come. And then, so we moved our date April 11th to August 1st. Let me tell you, that was tough. I was like, we'll be all right. Take your vitamin C. We'll be good. Let's keep it April 11th. I'm not moving it. And then I finally calmed down, woosad, thought it through.
Came to our senses.
And and I was like, okay, move to August 1st. So then everybody was still invited for August 1st. Oh, and let me tell you. So we'll tell you we'll tell you the story, and then we'll tell you things that we learned with like wedding planning and just making it through too as a couple, because it was a stressful ordeal, and then also dealing with like contracts and things like that. So I want to make sure we tell that to you guys as well. Just it may help somebody in the future. So God forbid this happens again, but it's pandemics happen. Not to this extent. I feel like when I talk to older people.
Oh, you said pandemic happened.
Yeah. And I'm like, maybe not like that.
Yeah.
But okay.
Things happen.
Yeah, I'm all over the place. Sorry, guys. Bear with me. I don't know why my energy is just like where it is today. But anywho, so we ended up moving it, and we were re-inviting everybody because we were hoping, I think we postponed it in March, like the end of March.
Yeah.
And so we were hoping by August, they would have things, under control, and maybe the virus would have passed. We didn't know. So we re-invited everyone. And then it was probably about, May or June? June.
When what?
When we had to change it, when we ended up changing it again because we became a hotspot.
Yeah. So
in June, and of course, we also thought Arizona's super hot. They're saying the heat kills it. So we should be golden in August because it's hot.
Yeah, we throw these in the clay.
Exactly. June rolls around. Our governor opens up the state. And like you guys know, we were number 1 in the world for coronavirus cases.
Yeah. So, numbers skyrocketed.
Yeah.
And as soon as that started, we just were waiting for the calls.
And we started getting people who did say they weren't going to come. We had some riders, though, who was down and ready.
We did.
Shout out
to y'all.
But it doesn't take away from those who were fearful and with underlying conditions. We also understand, and we know they love and support us as well. But we had some riders. But then... So once our numbers started to increase, our parents and Saquon were like, okay, well, now we need to figure out something else. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, no. No. Because if we move it again, who knows when this thing is going to end? How many daggone times are we going to move our wedding? We've been together for 8 years. We've been engaged for over a year. And, it's kind of like, I was just ready. And you have your heart set on a date. You have your heart set on all the planning that went into everything. Yeah. So I was just frustrated and, unreasonable for a little second. And I was just like, no. So then we talked again and we're like, okay, we'll boil it down to just our bridal party and our immediate families. So we're like, okay.
And we felt pretty satisfied.
Pretty good. That was, we have big families. So it's still around 50 people. And the governor also, during this time, the governor did an executive order saying that gatherings had to be 50 people or less. Mm-hmm. So we're like, okay, That'll work. We'll rent a nice Airbnb. We can do the ceremony there, and then just kind of have fun, celebrate at the Airbnb. We'll also
Yep.
be in one place, lower our risk of being in contact with other people. It's less people. We'll be gooch.
And then
So I contacted an Airbnb. We found this beautiful home. It was like 9 bedrooms, 10 bathroom. Could fit us all comfortably. It was spacious, so we wouldn't have to be on top of each other.
Beautiful.
Had a guest home.
Beautiful.
It's gorgeous, darling.
Beautiful.
Gorgeous. So then I contacted them, because I was trying to see, like, with everything going on, a lot of Airbnbs and VRBO homes were doing discounted prices. So I'm like, yeah, my fiance and I get married, da 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 da. I didn't say we were getting married at the home, but I just said we were getting married. And they were like, well, just so you know, it's a strict policy. There's no weddings at the house. It's a strict policy. No weddings, no events, no parties. So I'm like, okay, me being just the good-hearted, rule-following lady that I am, I was just like, well, let's find a venue for plan A, plan B. We could still stay in the Airbnb.
Yeah.
Honey over here,
I wasn't, yeah.
he wasn't feeling it.
Yeah, because, I just felt like it was extra money. I look at it like this.
Which is true, it was.
Almost 26 people can fit in that house, right? Mm-hmm. We were probably going to have 35 max.
Mm-hmm.
I felt...
Not all sleep in there.
No, yeah, not all sleep in there. Literally just for the ceremony.
Yeah.
I felt as if we did it inside or quietly in the backyard, how can you say that that's an event? Like, how can you really say it's an event when most of these people are staying here at the Airbnb?
And I understood exactly what he was saying. Because I'm like, so we can't do a 15-minute ceremony.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, it's not a big party. It's not a lot of noise. It's not reckless. It's, like, what is the issue?
Yeah, that's
I
like
just
saying...
couldn't comprehend it either, but I'm like, well, that's your rule. That's your home. Hey, I'm going to respect it. And in his head, he was set on the Airbnb. It was expensive, and we didn't want our guests paying more than what they would pay for a hotel, so we would have to cover, the rest of the house. And so it was in his mind, it's like, well, listen, is it really an event?
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I was like, all right, yeah, we getting married, but we're not having a wedding.
I'm like, so it is a wedding. It's a ceremony. So I'm like, he was trying to, go over it and through it. And I'm just like, babe, we can't. So I'm like, okay, guys, follow, especially if it's someone else's home. Because if we had an Airbnb and we're renting out to somebody, I would pray that they would respect our rules. If we say no pets, oh, well, my pet is good and, it's potty trained. I don't care. There's well, with that one, it's people could be allergic to dog hair, cat hair, and your dog can shed even if it's not a lot. If I say this is the rule for my place and you want to stay in my place, then follow it or find somewhere else to stay. That's how I look at it. Treat others how you want to be treated.
Yeah, that's how she looked at it.
Oh, you don't think you should treat others how you want to be treated?
No, I believe that, but for this situation...
See, no, you can't do that.
For this situation, just like how you said... For the pets, when they say no pets, it's because of XYZ with the allergies or whatever the case may be. I believe that we were alleviating that reason. But, for whatever it is, that's what happened.
That was that. Yeah.
Continue.
So... it was decent.
It was okay.
It was decent. Yeah, it was okay. Yeah. And, but it was it didn't sell us. So we had that as a plan C.
Yeah. And
then we found this other venue, which was nice.
Well, the only thing that was good about the first venue was that it was completely shaded.
Yeah, it was still, because one of our biggest things is we want to get married outside.
Yeah. We
just feel like that is God's house is outside. That's what was built, Mother Nature, So, what? I thought you were just looking at me admiring all this love. It was nice because, like you said, that one was covered. So it was in August, like we said, it's hot, but at least you're not directly in the sun. So then there's another venue that we found, and it was an adult community. and it had like a green belt. They did golfing and stuff there, but it was set up in front of a lake. So we really liked that one. It was really nice, and the view was beautiful. So we were set on that, and I was like, okay, listen, hun, we're gonna make this happen. We're gonna get married at the venue, and we're gonna stay in the Airbnb. Yeah. And he was just like, Maney, listen, that's a lot of money. We already spent a whole bunch of money on the wedding. Now we have to spend additional money on the Airbnb and the venue. And then also the Airbnb to the venue was like a 45-minute drive. So it was a lot that went into it. But when I have my heart set on something, your girl makes it happen. So I'm like, listen, we're about to do some side hustling. And we did. We were riding together. We did some shipped orders. And we were getting in the funds. Yeah. So I was on a mission. And it was so funny. Because when we left that venue that I really liked, we both liked, he was like, oh yeah, it was nice. I really loved the feel. He was like, man, if we would have known about this venue, we could have got married here initially. And I'm like, oh yeah, the plan is working. And then all of a sudden he kind of flipped it on me and was like, yeah, but I think the Airbnb is better and we should just do it there. And I'm like, no.
Yeah. In my head, it was like this. Everybody could just come together. We could have a good time, get it done, and keep everyone here as especially with Arizona being a hot spot.
And most of our family and friends coming from out of state.
Correct. So you don't want to spread them everywhere either, just in case.
Right.
So that was my idea about it.
And it wasn't that I was against it, but I'm just like, listen.
She just had a vision in her head that she didn't care about people's well-being.
No. If it wasn't for the fact that they said we couldn't have the ceremony in the Airbnb, I wouldn't have even looked for anything else.
Yeah.
So, listen, y'all. See? That's not great communication. Anywho. But yeah. So, needless to say, that was the plan. We were working towards it. But then we get a call from our parents. How did they do it? Did they do it through text first?
I
think they...
Did they call me first on this
one? Sent a text. No. They didn't call you at this point.
Oh, this is after you sent the text first.
What did I say?
You sent the text about something. Oh, you sent the text about...
Oh, the new executive order.
Yeah.
Oh, and that the hotel that initially we had... Oh, yeah. That started the domino effect. So, we had a group block at a hotel. And we had two. There were two hotels that were sister hotels right next door to each other. So because of the whole pandemic, they closed one of them just because they weren't getting enough bookings. Yeah. And they were going to lose too much money by keeping them both open. So I just told our mothers that. And they took that as like, oh my gosh. Yeah. It's not a good idea. Let's not. Blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, hold up.
And we were already looking at the Airbnbs. We weren't saying anything about the hotel because it was like, that was cool to have as a backup.
Yeah. But then after that, so then they're texting and they're like, oh, let's do a group call. My mom says, let's do a group call. And I'm
Mind you, they had a conversation already.
They already talked behind the scenes. And I knew they talked behind the scenes. And I knew they were prepping us for their bad news. Yeah. So we do a group call. And, of course, they voice their opinions, let us know, well, with everything going on, I think it's best if, and this is actually before this is before we actually looked into the Airbnbs. Yeah. This is when we were inviting everybody. So they said, I don't think it's a good idea. So then from that talk, I was really just like annoyed. But then I came to my senses. I'm like, okay, I understand, makes sense. Let's be proactive. And just make sure that, we definitely went out of order. Because that happened. And then I had to, and the reason why I was frustrated also, because they were like, I don't think it's good to go ahead with the whole ceremony and reception at your venue. because of everything going on. And then if your numbers go down, you have that big space and then you have a small amount of people.
Yeah, so they told us to go to the Airbnb.
Right. So the thing I was frustrated about is like, oh, here it goes. I have to call the caterer, the vendor, the photographer, the videographer, all of our vendors, the venue, and see if they could move it to next year. So it was frustrating because I'm like, I'm doing all this work here. Mm-hmm. And everybody's coming up with ideas, but I'm doing the legwork. So I'm just like, and then I'm just like, it's we already moved it once, you know? So I didn't know how they were going to be, because the first time when we wanted to postpone it, it was like, well, you're not getting your money back. Yeah. These are your options.
Which is crazy.
Yeah. And I understand it because from a business perspective, if you give everybody their money back, how are you staying afloat? So I understand it, but it's just a sucky situation for everybody. So I ended up calling the venue and the vendors, and the venue was able to move everything for us to next year on our 1-year anniversary of our marriage, which will be August 1st next year. And so luckily that happened. So that kind of just took off stress and made the rest of it like, okay, cool. Then we did the Airbnb idea with just the immediate family and the bridal party. So then from that, I feel like it was like some changes that happened within there, and it was like the expense of everything. And then my mom called and was so my mom called Saquon and has a chat with him. Go ahead.
Oh.
Yeah, go ahead. Because they were just chatting it up like I'm just the big bad wolf here.
Well, nobody said you were the big bad wolf, first of all. You're not the big bad wolf. But you could be a bit monstrous. She can leave people walking on pins, needles, eggshells, you know.
And I don't know why, because I'm really not that bad.
Because it's easy to hurt her feelings. Easy to hurt her feelings. And that's where the eggshell...
I don't know if it's easy.
Yes, it is.
It's not easy to hurt my feelings. It's just...
Well, before we get into that conversation, look.
I'm passionate.
You know how I know she's easy to be... for her feelings to be hurt? Soon as they talked about like changing things on that Zoom call with our parents, oh my gosh, she ran in the room.
That's not why.
Like, I forget what she said.
That's not why. It's because something
she said.
Y'all both said. Like, first they were talking and they were like, "Oh, I think it's a better idea to get an Airbnb and da 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 da." And I'm like,
but she said
get
something.
Married in Airbnb.
Yeah, she said something and then. She ran in the room, slammed the door.
Then Saquon says something. I forgot what it was that you said, which was like the straw that broke the camel's back.
No, it wasn't something I said.
Yeah,
I thought no.
Yeah, you said something last, and then I was like, okay, well, how about this? Because y'all want to make decisions together, you guys plan it and let me know what you choose.
Yeah,
and then I walked away because I just feel like, okay, these are your concerns. Respect it, but it's like, are you even... Oh, I know why. Because, yeah, I remember what you said, and I'm not even going to say it on here. But it was about, your mom said something about the planes, and she's like, oh, yeah, you know, the planes are being canceled because of the coronavirus. Mm-hmm. And I was like, well, you know, it is, but planes get canceled before. Remember, Saquon had a plane that got canceled. Mm-hmm. And you said I sounded like a certain group of people... Yeah.
Why she got mad.
Yeah, that's why I got mad. So then I'm like, okay. He was like, oh, well, you keep, trying to go against everything somebody's saying as a precaution. And I'm like, no, I'm not. But I'm just like also giving my reasoning. It's like, okay, you say that if we move the date, it may be safer. But I'm like, well, we thought that this first time. We moved the date thinking it was going to be safer, and it got worse. So what if we move the date again, and then it only gets worse? So I'm just bringing up my own precautions to their precautions. And then he's trying to say that I'm just going against it. So I'm like, forget it then.
Yeah,
if y'all want to plan this, let me know what you choose to do. And I walked away.
What's the analogy that they use about the house being on fire thing? You know what I'm talking about?
Oh.
Just say
so
it.
that if, like, basically, if one house is on fire, and so basically it's like all lives matter versus Black Lives Matter. So they're basically the saying is, if one house is on fire, are you going to say, oh, wait, don't use all the water on them because we got to, all houses matter. We need to make sure water's on all the houses. That was the analogy.
Yeah, that was the analogy I was going at. And boy, oh boy. I think everybody else understood what I was saying. But,
yeah, because it's not them under being attacked.
See? It wasn't an attack.
Yes, it was.
It wasn't an attack.
You didn't have to say that.
It wasn't an attack because...
Yes, it was.
I guess...
And see, and I understand we're a team, but that was a deliberate strike against your teammate.
I guess it wasn't a strike. It was a defense, and it was a defense for them.
Exactly, but I'm
because
your teammate.
No, I'm in the middle at this.
I'm your teammate for life.
No, I'm in the middle at this point because everything that they're saying, I had said before they even brought it up to me.
Yeah, I mean, earlier on, he did say, like, oh, well, we should just go elope in Vegas. But see, when he brought it, it was like, just go elope in Vegas. Like,
I don't remember. Man. I don't remember saying go to Vegas.
But if that's the same story I keep telling you, that's what you
Nah,
said.
I cannot see why I would even say Vegas.
This is what we said in the communication video.
Or maybe I said Vegas just because of the typical...
That's where you go to elope.
Yeah, maybe I said that, but I don't. I don't want to be in Vegas. But anyway, yeah, she just took that. She was balling, whatever the case may be.
So you
and
got
I was
there.
And I was in the middle just because I said these things. But anyway,
you know why you got there?
Huh?
Because you were saying about when mommy called you and how.
I'm
just making sure because we went on a little tangent.
I'm trying to say, but anyway, you started the tangent.
No.
Yes, you did.
Okay, go ahead.
But anyway, one day she just leaves for work, and I'm just chilling, about to do my morning routine, and her mom calls, and I'm like, what's this gonna be about? And she asked me, how I'm doing, whatever, and then basically, we get into a conversation about whether or not it should be a good idea to continue to moving forward with everything.
And this is the Airbnb plan.
Yeah, this is the Airbnb plan.
Just bridal party and immediate family.
Yeah. Now, she was saying some details that I agreed with, but not to cancel the Airbnb. I agreed with all the details, but I felt like the Airbnb solved those issues. But in her eyes, in which I don't know, is if they change the executive order to 10 people or less, would you even be able to rent an Airbnb that big? And once again, in my head, I understand that would be the rule, but what if 20-something people lived in a big house like that? I mean, it's big, right? People have them to live in, so hey, I just think that's interesting. I do think that's interesting. But yeah, that's what she called me about, and yeah, we went further in to talk about how Charmaine here, she gets her, she had these visions, and there's nothing wrong with it. But once she has a vision, nobody else's opinion or idea matters. And even though she's saying we a team, right? My idea does not matter.
It did. Because I still said let's do the Airbnb also.
No, if you watch our videos, right? I think she said in one of them, she was like, yeah, we talk about it, but it's not like we come to an agreement. That's what it is. I'll bring it up, and it's just kind of like, oh, okay, whatever. Don't come to an agreement, and it's just going to continue to go with her one way. That's what it is. But yeah, so if it's not like that, and you try to be a strong individual.
Stop.
And you try to be.
Stop.
Not even try, because I am a strong individual. Sometimes I taint, my light. So, for her.
You are pushing it.
No, I'm not.
Yes, you are.
But yeah, so when you do try to just kind of penetrate, you know, you tend to hurt her feelings, and we were talking about that, and because it's breaking her vision, she gets sensitive, and things like that, and she continues to move through adversity with lots of optimism.
Indeed.
So, and like I said, like I told her mom that day, it's not a bad thing, but like I said earlier in this one, that optimism can go past people's well-being. So, and I get it because, within her career in her field, a positive mindset creates healing. So I get it to a certain extent.
Yeah, so she ended up calling and breaking the news to me, but of course she had to start off with like talking about something else first and talking about Saquon and stuff like that. Then she went into the news of thinking that we should change it just because, and it made sense because she was like, if things do change and we can't get our money back for the Airbnb and we invested all that money in that, it would be, an issue. So from there, we decided to change our plans again. So then we went down to it would just be us getting married and our parents. But then unfortunately, it was like his family lives in Virginia. Mm-hmm. So if his parents were to come, then they'd have to quarantine from their job for 2 weeks. And that was also starting to become a thing with our friends and family also with the Airbnb situation.
And shout out to those that were not telling the job their situation to still try to get around it.
Yeah, but so his parents weren't able to come. So then we just said, okay, well, we'll just elope. It's not really, I guess it's not a true elopement because it's not a secret. But we'll just get married, just the two of us. We'll live stream it for our just for our parents so that they can still be a part of that moment with us. And then next year we'll have a ceremony and reception, kind of like a vow renewal, 1 year celebration. So that's where we're at now. So actually, what's today? Wednesday, Thursday, Wednesday. In 3 days, we will be married.
Yep, 3 days after by 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
No. By 7 o'clock, right?
Yeah, by 7.
By 7 o'clock, yeah.
PM. Yeah, because it's hot and we're still going to be married outside. So once it's going to be, we're going to still have our videographer there and we don't have, like our witnesses are just going to be people there because it's just literally going to be just him and I. So we'll update you on how that goes.
Yeah. What else about the wedding though?
So, what I was saying earlier about like contracts. Read your contracts. Like, no one could really prepare or expect for this pandemic to occur the way it did. Like we said, in the past there were pandemics like swine flu and Ebola and things like that. But the world never got shut down like it did with the coronavirus. Yeah. So in the contracts, some of them have like everything, all the money you put in is non-refundable. Like they may change your date, but you will not get any money back. And if you cancel, you'll lose all your money. Some contracts say they cover, like if an act of God happens, then it's either you'll get all your money back or you won't. And so with our venue in that contract, it said if an act of God happened, then you would not get your money back because it's not their fault and it's not our fault. Mm. So make sure you are reading your contracts and just make sure that you're protected in it to where if, God forbid, something happens, then you can either A, get your money back or B, postpone your event.
Yeah.
Also, go ahead.
Oh, and I was about to say, it's kind of hard because I would honestly say after this happened, that place should just go ahead and change their contract because I wouldn't even recommend going to a place like that after this.
Well, I would say they were actually one of the better venues so I'm in a lot of Facebook groups for weddings and I dug deep. So there are some venues who would not budge on changing like you changing your date, because in their contract it said if you change your date, a postponement was considered a cancellation in their eyes. So some people couldn't even change their date. Other people, like, and also with the venues, it's like they feel like if you move your date, that's another day someone else could have paid them money for their business.
No, I'm
So
saying,
they
but
feel
what?
like that.
Sorry.
So they feel like they're losing out. And a lot of them during the pandemic were still like, okay, well, we're not considered a public gathering. So you can still have your event. And if you choose to change it, that's on you. We're able to host you.
Well, what about the whole act of God situation, though? What about the whole act of God part?
What do you mean?
If they have it in there that you can get your refund back for act of God because of an act of God or whatever, they still wasn't giving their money back. They still wasn't.
If that's in your contract, then you would get your money back.
Okay.
But if it says that act of gods aren't included, then you won't get your money back, because they look at it as like, well, it's something we didn't know, something you didn't know. It's not our fault.
Yeah.
So it's super important to read your contract. Also, I mean, after this, contracts are going to be different. Businesses are going to put in there to protect themselves, because lawyers have been involved in a lot of people's situations, lawsuits. It's a lot of, it's really sad on both ends, honestly. Yeah. There's businesses who I feel like are actually caring and want to help you and try to make the best thing work for both parties. And then there's just businesses who are just worried about how they're going to make their livelihood and not caring about how it's affecting you. But now I feel like businesses are going to add that to their contract, that acts of God aren't covered, pandemics aren't covered, state laws aren't covered as far as you getting your money back. Also, something we purchased was wedding insurance. And that covers like rehearsal dinner, your ceremony, your reception. And in those, we got it at a late time, kind of when this first started. So they already had in there that it wouldn't be covered for COVID. But for those who had it before that, they did have their wedding stuff covered for COVID. But now even wedding insurances, they had to pay out, I think, just event insurance. They had to pay out, I think, over like $400 million to different events, because like festivals, if you think of festivals, concerts, all of these things, people, that's something they do all the time. So they have event insurance for it, and they had to pay all of that out, and they didn't expect to have to pay that all, because no one expected the pandemic.
Yep, that's the point of insurance, though.
It's the point of it, but they didn't expect so many at one time.
Yeah.
Like you expect, okay, something can happen, we'll pay this person their money back.
Yeah,
but all area of these at once, and we have to dish out this money. So now I feel like a lot of the contracts are going to not include pandemics as well. It's going to be hard to find one that actually does. So it's just also being careful. And then another tip I'd say is do not pay too far in advance. Like pay your deposits to hold your spot. But me, I love to do everything in advance. I don't like to wait till the last minute. I just like things to be done out the way. I know I have money for this. Let me pay for that. But when you do that, it's like right now, everything was pretty much paid for our wedding. We were ready to go. So with the whole pandemic happening, and now we have to wait till next year for the big celebration, it's kind of like that excess money that we had, like gratefully, we have money to have a roof over our head, food in our stomach. We didn't suffer that way during this pandemic, but God forbid we did. All that extra money that was paid out to all these vendors in the venue could have went to keeping our livelihood, secure.
Yeah, that, and a money tip for you guys that I learned is it's not always best to just pay a huge amount to a company for something so far in advance when it can make money for you.
That too. And so if you have the money, I would say, if you want to just be safe, keep it in your bank account, keep it in your savings so you know it's there.
Collect the interest.
Collect the interest on it. And then when the due date is near or on the due date, pay it.
Yeah, make sure you have the money. Don't put yourself in a situation where you don't have the money.
Right. But just, I would say, don't pay it so far in advance, just because, God forbid, you don't know what can happen. This is a lesson for all of us, and we definitely learned it.
Yeah, and then that's the foul part. That's why I think people should get their money back. Because if I had the chance to not pay all of that money like that, then you should have gave me without. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. But it's also for businesses, I'll say this is a good opportunity to grow and learn from because our bartender, he was great. He was like, he gave everybody their money back if they asked for it
Yeah.
because he put himself in a position to where he's not a big spender. The money you gave him didn't just go back out for him to spend. He had a good nest egg of savings to where he could give people their money back.
Yeah.
A lot of businesses, and not to, because I don't know everybody's business financial situation. So you might be just building your business and you need to reinvest your money to grow your business. But a big thing is to make sure you have expenses for, just like how we said in the personal finance one, joint bank account and budgeting is like 3 to 6 months. Like you want to make sure that you have that covered for your business as well.
Yep.
And a surplus. So I think this is just a lesson for everyone to kind of learn. And, it's a sad situation. I feel bad for brides who lost a lot of money and businesses also who will never be open again. It's affected so many people. But those are tips I feel like, just to take heed to.
Yeah, and I do believe after all of this, we're going to bounce back stronger.
Yeah. Yeah, and like I said, we didn't suffer too much.
No, we didn't suffer. We didn't suffer. And that's why I gave that money to. We didn't suffer, but when you kind of hold back from certain things, you can do better. And that's all. I mean, we didn't suffer at all.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we didn't suffer at all.
Other than everything we said about the stress in this wedding.
Yeah.
We didn't really take any hits
financially. Yeah. We were okay financially. It was just an emotional thing. And I feel like, during that time, another thing is like during this, with all this tension and us having differences of opinions and ideas, I won't say it created too much tension between you and I, but we had our areas where it was like we had arguments over it.
Yeah.
Overall, I feel like this whole pandemic, we got closer, we grew a lot. Go ahead.
I wouldn't even say they were arguments. It was more so just things you don't like, or you get upset about, or something like that. Because I don't think we had arguments about things through the wedding. We only had this one little patch that got heated around the end of counseling. That was about it. I can't really think of too many arguments like that.
No, I'm talking about the pandemic.
Oh, throughout the pandemic?
Yeah, just with us having differences of opinion and like you saying like you wanted to do the Airbnb and I wanted to do the venue and the Airbnb.
Yeah,
I feel like it wasn't necessarily it wasn't a straight argument, but it was like disagreements or we weren't on the same page in what we wanted to do moving forward.
Yeah.
And so within that, I think keeping communication open and honest is important. And that's something I think we did do. Like you were able to voice how you feel like I wasn't listening to your ideas and I just pushed your ideas to the side. And that, everybody, I guess, was voicing that they felt like they were walking on eggshells with me, which still,
Yeah, but like she said, I made sure that I tried to communicate everything that I felt, at least, so she know that, I did feel a certain type of way. Shout out to my communication skills. Make sure y'all check that communication video because the numbers is going up on that. So I had to plug that.
Yeah, we'll put a link for that video. It's actually really good.
We'll put a link and it'll be on the end card of this video as well.
At the end of the video. Not everybody knows what an end card is.
The end card at the end of this video?
They don't know what an end card is. Not everybody.
Oh, okay.
Like, Mommy wouldn't know.
That's
She's
true.
like, where'd that end card go? But yeah, so the end card, which is just at the end of the video, it'll pop up.
Yeah. Will personally suggest a video at the end of the video, and you just got to click it. That's it.
Yes. So... what were we saying? Oh, yeah. So I would say, having open and honest communication and just being patient because, honestly, we both, this is a big situation for both of us. We both were going through it. And sometimes I felt like it was weighing heavier on me than it was him, but that wasn't true. It's just we express ourselves differently. So it was like, you'll know when I'm upset. Like, it'll show on my face, it'll show in my demeanor and my personality. And sometimes with him, it's like, you'll know when he's upset also, but he's not as emotional as I am. So, like, for instance, when we found out his grandmother couldn't come out here because, she's elderly and then also underlying conditions. So it was like, I knew it bothered you, but it was like, you didn't even really want to talk about it. We had one conversation about it and you're like, yeah, I'm trying not to think about it. I don't really want to talk about it.
Yeah. And I mean, most of the time I do that is when I feel like, what's the point? Because I mostly do that when I feel like if I say something, then I already know what the outcome is, and it's kind of no point, if that makes sense.
What do you mean? You already know, like, it wasn't going to change whether she comes or not?
It wasn't going to change nothing, and the fact that it wasn't being said made me feel like I would have had to address something else too.
Oh, gotcha.
You understand what I'm saying? So it's kind of like, because my thing would have been, as long as I knew, if I would have said that, then it could have been, the next part is, oh, nah, whatever, da, 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 da. But then it's like, you got to address the next part. So
with me? Because I'm talking about with our communication.
Sometimes, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, sometimes, yeah. It's like...
with that situation?
Huh?
With that situation?
What? No. What situation?
With your grandmother not being able to come?
No, that didn't have nothing to do with you.
Further with me about it?
Nah, I did talk. We talked about it.
Yeah, it wasn't like I said. It was
You'll cry and stuff like that about it. I say my words about it, and I might kind of go numb after that. Like, I don't really,
Yeah. So we just handle situations
completely
differently. And so the frustration sometimes also is like, you can take it out on your partner and feel like they're the cause, or like when you're upset and things feel like they're falling apart around you, it's like sometimes you want to find a reason. Yeah. And then it's like, I mean, I made some good logical thoughts in my head of reasons, but it wasn't really fair. And also it was selfish. I'll say it was selfish. Like, to point the finger at somebody who's going through the same thing as you, it's pretty selfish. So I'll say, just make sure like you're being patient with yourself and with your partner and being understanding to each other.
Yep.
So, yeah. So we will be getting married August 1st, 2020. And
6:30 p.m.
Yes. And we will, you want to put the engagement video at the end of this?
Yeah, we'll go ahead and put that on there. Yeah, we'll throw that on here, so y'all can watch it after this podcast.
Yeah, we'll put the engagement video up just so you guys can see how it all started, run down this road. And next time you see us will be Mr. and Mrs. Saint Hilaire.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, until next time, we are out.
See you later.
Peace.
Deuces.
It was really sweet.
I mean, you know us.
Deserve it.
You know.
They the best. Do you feel weird just sitting up there
I
blindfolded?
do. I'm like, I
Demetria, do you feel weird being blindfolded?
Demi,
Oh my goodness.
I can see you. Stop peeking through.
Demetria. I'm not cheating. Don't you have a hint? Yeah. You cannot have a hint. Give us tripping
on you.
That's all I know.
My bad, baby. Tripping on you. Listen, you make sure you can't see a thing, okay? We fall, we all
together.
Y'all messed up my song, okay? I didn't ask for backup, okay? Shiner. We got you. Okay, we got you. Okay. Take a big step. Take like a big step. Take a step right here. Step. Right there.
This is not your forte.
I know. It's crazy.
It's hot.
Is it?
It's a little toasty.
Okay. Demi, where are you? Okay, there she is. Wait. Okay.
Here. I'm good.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Wait.
It's
Not the most.
Okay. First of all, you guys are the ones a little riled up.
Are you okay? Okay.
No, it's hot.
Okay.
And I'm hungry.
Oh my goodness.
Well, we gonna get you some food, girl.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, we almost here.
You guys ready?
Ready?
Okay.
Wait, do you got Demetria?
Yeah.
Okay, Nadira got Demetria, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
All right.
Ready? Okay. Here we go.
Oh, it's bright.
Get us